Hello Internet, I am the Hero of Julios once again with the next installment of Preparing for Set 3. In this episode we'll be talking about the color purple. Unfortunately, I feel like purple has been getting the short end of the stick for the last two sets, and sadly set 3 is no different. However, I think purple is going to have some fun this season, at least in your locals. We'll start off by talking about the leader card, Iceberg, a Water 7 Galley Law company with 5,000 power and a 5 life. This leader cannot attack. His activate main ability is Dawn -1 to play up to one character with the Galley Law company type with a cost of 5 or less straight from your hand. Oh no, your leader can't attack. Oh no, your starting hand has only 5 cost characters. Time for a turn 1 5 cost character. Imagine if Galley Law got a 5 cost 7k vanilla. They didn't, but can you imagine? A meta changer? No. Am I going to play this leader? And considering I typically tend to pull the alt art purple leaders without even trying, yeah, probably. Due to Iceberg himself being unable to attack, I feel like I should put him in D tier, but my desire to play out 5 cost characters on my very first turn forces me to put him in C tier. This is a personal opinion after all, so yeah, I'm gonna go with C tier. I don't think he's gonna shake the meta, but I think he's gonna be fun to play. Purple only got one vanilla card this time around in the 2 cost Kiwi and Mozu. 2 cost to play, 4,000 power, and a 1,000 counter. They're Water 7 and they're Frankie family, so as Water 7 and Frankie family support grows, the use for this card will grow as well. But for now, only usable if you're already going to use a 2 cost vanilla and weren't playing a film or smile deck. Our only 1 cost character is going to be Granny Kokoro. 1 cost to play, 2,000 power, 1,000 counter. On play, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck. Reveal up to 1 Water 7 type card other than Kokoro and add it to your hand. Then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. Kokoro's a searcher, simple as that. As another searcher, she already is a good card. And since she's not restricted to specifically the color purple, she is future-proofed if Water 7 gets any support in the other colors. Because of this, I'm going to put Kokoro as an A tier card, same as I do for all searchers. Well, unrestricted searchers. For our only 2 cost character, we've got Chimney and Gonbei, a 2 cost to play, 2,000 power, 1,000 counter with blocker. I'm wondering why we keep getting multiple characters on a card. We had Yosuku and Johnny, we got Kiwi and Mozu, we got Chimney and Gonbei. It would have been so hard to just give these characters their individual cards, and we might see something in the future for them. There's not really much else to say about the character card itself, since it's just another blocker with counter. Higurashi is still a better blocker with pretty much everything the same except for 1,000 more power, but at least this card can be searched by Kokoro, so I would still recommend this card if you're building an Iceberg deck instead of the better powered Higurashi. The first of our 3 cost characters is Zambai, a 3 cost to play, 2,000 power with blocker. His on play lets us Dawn -1, and if your leader has the Water 7 type, draw 1 card. A blocker that lets you draw is fantastic, and no counter does kinda take away from that. I'll wait and see if there's any Frankie family support down the road, but I think I'm better off choosing something else as a blocker for my Galley Law deck. But since we're talking about future support, let's hear it for past support, with Impel Down getting a character card, the 3 cost to play, 5,000 power Mino Rhinoceros. His on KO is if your leader is Impel Down, you can draw 2 cards, then trash 1 from your hand. Honestly, draw power is something that deck needed. Plus, it's something to play for turn 2 if you didn't see Little Sadie. I'm going to give Mino Rhinoceros B tier. We'll get back to Impel Down a little bit later, but we're going to start our 4 cost cards with Califa, a 4 cost to play, 4,000 power with 2,000 counter. Her when attacking ability is a Dawn -1 to draw 2 cards and then discard 1 card from your hand. Draw 2, trash 1 when attacking makes this a great card to get on the board, and since Iceberg can cheat her out turn 1, you're definitely going to be able to use her effect at least once before your opponent can destroy her. I'm going to rank this card in A tier just because of the amazing draw power and the usefulness both in the hand and on the field. Our other 4 cost is the other Jailer Beast, Minnow Zebra. A 4 cost to play, 5000 power with 1000 counter, and Banish. Its on KO is if your leader is an Impel Down type leader, add 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and rest it. He's the same as the first 2 Jailer Beasts in terms of his on KO, but he won't be much use to you unless you make him very hard to counter out of. It depends on who you're up against, but I'd rather play Minotaur and keep Zebra in the hand as a counter. I'm going to go with C tier because I would rather draw any of the other Jailer Beasts, but I am glad to see we finally have all 4. Who knows, maybe someday Mino Chihuahua, the 5th one, will get something. Now we move on to the most important part of purple this time, the 5 cost characters, starting off with Kaku, a 5 cost to play, 6000 power, 1000 counter, with the when attacking ability Dawn -1. This character gains Banish for the turn. Dawn -1 to gain Banish isn't so bad, especially because you only need to give him 1 Dawn to hit that magic 7k swing. I think he would work well in Magellan as well as Iceberg, but I'm gonna give him C tier considering you have to lose a Dawn every time you give him Banish. Following up, we have Tilestone, a 5 cost to play, 6000 power with 1000 counter. His on KO is if your leader has the Gallilaw Company type, add 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and rest it. His on KO is pretty good, gaining you a Dawn if your leader is Gallilaw, and I think he's a good first choice for your turn 1 with Iceberg. But unfortunately, Iceberg is not as great as the other leaders for purple, so Tilestone, much like his leader, will have to fall to the wayside. I'm giving him D tier just because he is restricted to Gallilaw Company. But you know who's not restricted to Gallilaw Company? Paulie. 5 cost to play, 6000 power with 0 counter. His on-play ability costs 2 Dawn, to add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active. Then, if you have 8 or more Dawn in play, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. 7 Dawn to gain a Dawn and KO of 4 cost might let Paulie see play in purple-black decks, except for the fact that King exists for 1 Dawn less, 1k more power, and arguably easier to pull off effect. But if you're using Iceberg, he really only costs 2 Dawn in the end. I think this is a really strong card, and an S tier choice for Iceberg decks. Otherwise, I'd say he's A tier for other decks. Our next character card is just fun to say, Peeply Lulu. 5 cost to play, 5000 power, 1000 counter. A Dawn 1 ability when attacking. If your leader has the Gallilaw Company type, add up to 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck and rest it. It's kind of like Califa. If you play him right off the bat, you're definitely going to be able to pull off his effect at least once, and even better if you pull off his effect twice. Adding the Dawn you lost by playing him out using your Iceberg, and if he survives, you can do this over and over again. This is an A tier card for the Iceberg deck, especially if you pull him out early. And rounding out our 5 cost characters is the totally trustworthy and super loyal guy, Rob Lucci. 5 cost to play, 6000 power, 1000 counter. When attacking, Dawn -1, to rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. Doing what Okiku does for Dawn -1 rather than attaching, he might see play in other purple decks, given how strong Kiku was with a similar effect. Because of this, I'm giving him A tier. The ability to rest most blockers in the game and the ability to swing for 7 is pretty hard to pass up, if you put a Dawn on him, of course. Our last character card is the 6 cost to play, 7000 power Monkey D. Luffy. No counter power here, but he does have an on play of Dawn -1. Trash 1 character card with a cost of 5 from your hand. This character gains Rush for the turn. He's a 7k character with Rush if you trash a 5 cost from hand, which I assume is what they want you to do given the amount of 5 cost characters you'll have thanks to this set. I don't think this is going to be a great card though until there is more Straw Hat purple cards. Because of that, I'm going to have to give Luffy a D tier for this particular card. Moving on to our event cards, we have Gum Gum Jet Gatling, a 0 cost to play counter where we may discard 1 card from our hand to give up to one of our characters or leaders 3000 power during this battle. Its trigger effect lets us add up to 1 Dawn card from our Dawn deck and set it as active. It is the exact same card as Gum Gum Rain in blue, save for a different trigger. But I don't want an empty hand as a purple player, so I don't think it's going to see as much play as its blue counterpart. Because of this, I'm going to leave this card in D tier. If you want 0 cost countering, just use the characters you have in hand. Our next event card is the 1 cost Hull Dismantling Slash. Its main effect is Dawn -1. If your leader has the Water 7 type, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 2 or less. Its trigger activates its main effect. Dawn -1 to KO an opponent's 2 cost would be great if it was able to be played in purple and black, but it's limited by the Water 7 restriction, so unfortunately Zephyr cannot play this card. It's good for getting rid of blockers, so maybe I'd run 1. Otherwise, I'd give this card D tier. It could have been something if it wasn't restricted by a specific leader type. Our final event card is the 2 cost Top Knot. Its main effect is Dawn -1 to return up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less to the bottom of its owner's deck. Its trigger activates its main effect. The power to bottom deck a 4 cost or lower for only 2 Dawn, even with that being a -2, I think this is a great card. Either Onigashima or Galley Law will gain you 3 Dawn a turn, making this cost not as bad as it seems, especially if you're running a low cost deck. This is an A tier for sure in my opinion, because it gets rid of a lot of potential problems. Our final purple card for set 3 is Galley Law Company, a 3 cost to play stage with the activate main ability. You may rest this stage, and if your leader is Iceberg, you may add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and rest it. This is exactly the same as Onigashima, except instead of being restricted by Animal Kingdom, it is restricted for Iceberg specifically. I understand the need for it to be a restricted stage, but I wish it was restricted to Galley Law instead of Iceberg, because if Polly or Tilestone or any of them get a leader card, they're not going to be able to use this stage. Because of that, I'm going to put Galley Law Company in C tier. It is a very strong effect, which is what's keeping it out of D, but it's restricted to Iceberg only, which is what stops it from having any more potential than that. As far as collecting goes, there's a wanted card for Kaido in this set, but Polly and Iceberg are the only new cards that are getting alt arts here. I'm sorry, Purple fans, but on a brighter note, it's going to be really easy for you guys to collect all of your cards. Overall, Purple has only one thing it wants you to do this set. Play Iceberg with a deck full of 5 cost Galley Law employees. I appreciate the other 2 Jailer Beasts getting support for my Magellan deck, for what it's worth. Overall though, Purple is overall a C tier deck with a few cards that might see play in future Purple decks. I really hope that by sets 4 and 5, Purple truly gets the support that it needs to finally compete with all the other colors. But that's just my opinion. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the purple cards for set 3, and if you think they're going to be what truly shakes up your locals. Thank you for watching as always, and I will see you in the next video. This is the Hero of Julios, Xing out.